So here we have the new project car loaded up, ready to head back to Kent. It's a 1997 Bubble 200. So it started life as a 218 IS, which means it's got ABS brakes, discs front and rear, lowered suspension from factory, a few other bits and pieces, fog lights, sporty trim, and then somebody's fitted a 2-litre T-Series Turbo, which I will show if I can get into the car. So that's about 200 or 180 to 200 horsepower, easily tunable. So fun times. I just got home with the car, put a new battery in it and some fresh fuel, and it fired straight up. This isn't actually my engine, it's Mike's, but sounds incredibly tappety, so I don't know, hopefully it would just need an oil change, but it doesn't sound great. It's kicking out a lot of condensation, but that's to be expected because it's been sat for so long. But yeah, I'll play this video back to Mike and, you know, he can make a decision, but it sounds to me like it might want a top end rebuild. That's it unloaded, but really rattles. Not good. ABS light is on as well, which is annoying because I was hoping that I wouldn't have to fanny about with ABS sensors and things like that. The mileage is only 83,000, obviously not on this engine because it's a turbo replacement, but the rest of it's pretty good, looks alright. Had a quick look underneath, it doesn't look too bad. The brakes actually work, good. So yeah, still a complete unknown. I'll have to start chopping it up to actually see how much rust there is. Thought I'd have a further look at this little thing to work out exactly how much rust there is in it. When I got it, or got given it, I didn't think it was that bad, but when I went to look at it subsequently, there were areas for concern. There's evidence here that we've had the wing replaced, or certainly a section of the quarter. You can just see in here where there's been some chopping and grinding, and then obviously a little bit of filler in and around there. So what I need to do is excavate this whole area and see exactly what's underneath there, because that might change my plan for how I go repairing the rest of this. I've got an arch lip to go in there, which is this thing. It's off a 5-door, but it carries from the fuel filler area and the rear of the car right the way through and down to the rear edge of the sill. I've just picked up some sill repair panels as well, so that gets me about 0.8 meters along to here, and then I've got a universal sill section to go in under there. But what I don't have is a doorstep, so hopefully that area is mostly solid and it's just blown out in that one localized area. So what I need to do now is go and get a drill or some sandpaper or something, just clear the paint off this area, and I'll get that side trim off as well, and the door seal. A bit of grind, well, I would say grinding, but it's actually been poking and screwdrivering and using a scraper because we've had a power cut, so I didn't have a chance to put any proper tools on it. But just using a scraper, I've exposed that area, and what has happened is this car has had a new rear wing put on it at some point, and you can see that because there is a join of the skin with the sill here, and then as you follow that flange all the way round, you can see where it's been cleaned back and spot welded on, and it finishes about there. So that car has had a whole rear outer skin put on it. Further evidence just in here, but you'd have to say they did a pretty damn good job. It's probably just lack of paint on that wheel arch and then being hit again that has allowed that rust to develop. So I'm quite pleased that that is not the result of cancerous rust in that whole structural area. The floor is fine, It's just that area needs tidying up and patching. This dent needs to be pulled out, a new wheel arch lip, and then a new sill along the bottom because we have, I mean, it's actually pretty solid, so I'm not 100% sure it needs it. I might just do that bit, but at the front there's a bit of a frilliness here, so I might repair the front section. We've got a hole here, don't know why. You get the idea. So really I want to get the car in the air, get all that under seal off and see exactly what I've got, and I might even get an endoscope camera in there, in that area, to see exactly what's going on inside that sill section. And I also want to pull the wheel arch liner trim out as well, so that I can have a look at the closing panel in there. Just been fishing around in the boot looking for a jack and a brace and the locking wheel nut key. I found the jack and the brace. I've also found a very large puddle, but no locking wheel nut key. So in terms of getting that wheel off to get that arch panel out, that plastic one, I might have to think again. Just gonna bail this out in the old tradition of milk bottle. This is really disgusting because it's quite stagnant water. I should probably just drill a hole in it, but with no power, I don't really want to just put a chisel through it. Fun. That's all bailed out now, and really no rust, which is great. That's just sort of abrasions where the old spare wheel would have been chattering, but there's no nasty rusty bits, so I'm mightily relieved, because this thing really is quite fetid inside, lots of moisture, and we've got a nice mouldy headlining. The wrong seats, they're actually out of a turbo coupe, but I've managed to track down some original VI or 218 IS cloth seats, which is what I wanted. There's still turbos in here, power steering parts, a power steering reservoir, because at the moment there isn't actually any power steering fit to this car. I've also just jacked the thing up, and I can just about get my fingers in here and pull the wheel arch liner back, and I don't know whether you can see that, but all of that's really solid. Most of the time that closing panel rots out, and in readiness for this project I've actually already bought some of those parts that I thought I might need, but it turns out I may not actually require them, which is good. Thought I'd show that area again, but this time with a bit more light. So that whole end section with the 3 round holes and the 1 square hole, that usually rots out because the mud and the dirt gets trapped behind the wheel arch liner and then just sits there festering. But I've had a really good poke with a screwdriver and there's some surface rust, but nothing major. The rust all seems to be confined at the rear edge, so that wheel arch lip. It's probably a result of that skin being put on and then not properly painted. The actual end of the sill here is pretty damn good. But as I was saying earlier, I have in readiness bought repair panels. When Rover made these cars, they made the whole side as one big pressing from the roof seam up here all the way down to the underside of the sill down there. But unlike most cars, like the SD1s I'm working on, this panel doesn't come down and then form a return flange to that. That bit you're seeing there is actually the inner sill and floor stiffener. The sill, the whole side of the car, ends at that seam there, so plug welded or spot welded up onto the stiffener from below. So these panels are all made by a rather clever chap called Roland, who is a fan of the Rover 200 BRMs and also incredibly skilled when it comes to fabricating stuff. And what he's done is made repair sill sections. So that would be for a near side sill, and it goes from that body line at the bottom to the stiffener with the little swage line in it up to that detail line, and then the top is actually joggled or joddled, whatever you want to put it, whatever you want to call it. It has a step in it so that you can cut your panel, slide this up behind, and then make a really nice weld through. So that is a near side sill end, that is an offside sill end, that is a generic sill section without a return on it, so that's what I'm going to be using down the front. And then he's also made these closing panels to go in here. So as I say, on this one, hopefully after I've had a good poke I won't need this bit, but I've got them just in case I do. I'll put Roland's details in the notes section, or I might in a moment put up a picture of his business card, but basically he sells them through eBay, but you can find him on the internet as well. Before I forget, Roland's business card, he's also started doing the repair panels for the tailgate hinges on the Rover 200 Mark III and BRM, so I don't think I need those, but if I do, he's the guy to call. Thought I'd give a quick tour of the interior. It's not exactly the loveliest place to be at the moment. Somebody has done a few tuning mods. They've covered the luxurious wood trim with carbon film in pink. I really don't know what that was or why they did it. Being the IS, or like a VI, it's got the leather steering wheel with the volume controls for the stereo. Original stereo is missing some buttons, missing a gear gaiter. The leather has come off the gear knob. It's got seats from a 200 coupe, leather grey, and a 200 coupe centre armrest. So they're all going, and I'm going to be refitting the original interior. Well, when the car came to me, it had rear seats, but it was missing the fronts obviously, and it had these instead. Had the door cards, but one of them's damaged, so it needs repairing. Yeah, the headlining is really nasty, gone mouldy, and quite frankly, I'm not sure that will come out even if you steam clean it. If you steam clean it, it kills the mould, but it damages the foam interlayer, this stuff, and then it just falls apart. So really, I need a new headlining, which is annoying. While the battery was connected, I did check the electric sunroof and the windows, and they all worked. Central locking doesn't. The alarm is really irritating me because it just won't turn off properly, and it keeps sirening and pissing off the neighbours. Out here, this is an example of what the original seat fabric should look like. It's like a textured, it's not velour, it's just like nice comfy fabric. And the front seats, they're slightly more sculpted than the normal 200, I think, with wings on, but they're not stupid big. They're not like the later VIs, which had like half leather. They're all cloth, which is what I wanted. So I've got them stored at my dad's garage. It's just a case of cleaning up the interior, and there's no point doing that till all the welding's done, because I'd only ruin it. I also need a cabin carpet, because this one has got some nasty stains in it, and then also a big tear there. So that'll have to come out while I do the welding anyway, because there's a possibility of heat transference and setting fire to it. But yeah, it's definitely a project. That's probably going to be the end of this video, because there's no point doing any more until I get my power back. I also want to move this into the garage to do the welding, because I'm fed up of welding outside in car parks.